Welcome to this lecture on the principles of immunology. Today, we're going to explore two incredibly important tools that scientists and our own bodies use to manipulate the immune system: haptens and adjuvants. If you have ever wondered why some tiny molecules cause severe drug allergies, or how modern vaccines can be both highly purified and highly effective, you are in the right place. We will build your understanding from the ground up, starting with the basic concepts and moving all the way through the mathematical formulas used in real laboratories. Let us begin with our first major concept: haptens. Imagine you have a tiny, perfectly cut key, but the lock you need to open is massive and incredibly heavy. Because the key is so small, your fingers cannot get a good grip to turn it. In the immune system, a hapten is exactly like that tiny key. It has the right specific shape to be recognized by the immune system's locks, which are antibodies. However, because it is a low molecular weight molecule, it is simply too small to trigger the alarm on its own. It possesses antigenicity, meaning it can bind, but it lacks immunogenicity, meaning it cannot start the immune response by itself. Now that we understand what a hapten is, let us look at how it actually becomes functional. Returning to our analogy, if you weld that tiny key onto a large, sturdy metal handle, you can easily grip it and turn the lock. In immunology, this handle is called a carrier protein. To become fully immunogenic, the hapten must be covalently conjugated, or physically attached, to this larger, complex molecule. Once attached, the combined hapten carrier conjugate is large enough to be processed by antigen-presenting cells and recognized by T cells. The immune system wakes up and produces antibodies not only against the large carrier protein, but also specifically against the tiny hapten molecule itself. This dual recognition principle we just discussed is absolutely critical in modern medicine. Why does this matter? Consider drug allergies. The antibiotic penicillin is a classic hapten. It is too small to cause an immune response on its own. However, in some people, penicillin molecules bind covalently to large proteins on the surface of their red blood cells. This accidentally forms a dangerous hapten carrier complex right inside the body. The immune system suddenly sees this new large structure as a foreign invader and launches a massive attack, resulting in a severe allergic reaction. On the positive side, scientists intentionally use haptens attached to carriers to generate specific antibodies for diagnostic tools, like pregnancy tests. Before we move on to our next major topic, let us understand how immunologists mathematically measure this interaction. This formula represents the association constant, denoted as Ka. Conceptually, it tells us the ratio of bound complexes to free molecules at equilibrium. The numerator is the concentration of the bound hapten antibody complex. The denominator is the product of the free hapten concentration and the free antibody concentration. In plain English, if the hapten and antibody love to stick together, the concentration of the bound complex increases. When the numerator increases, the overall value of Ka increases. Therefore, a higher Ka physically means a much stronger binding affinity between the hapten and the antibody. Now that we have seen the formula, let us apply it to a real laboratory experiment. We are given the equilibrium concentration of the bound complex as 1.2 times 10 to the negative 5 molar. The free hapten is 2.0 times 10 to the negative 6 molar, and the free antibody is 3.0 times 10 to the negative 6 molar. We want to find the binding strength. First, we substitute these given values directly into our equation. Next, we simplify the denominator by multiplying the free concentrations together, giving us 6.0 times 10 to the negative 12. Finally, dividing the numerator by the denominator gives us 2.0 times 10 to the 6th liters per mole. This high number physically means the hapten has a very strong affinity for the antibody, proving the hapten carrier design was highly successful. We have successfully measured hapten binding, which brings us to our second major concept, adjuvants. Let us imagine you are trying to give an important speech to a massive crowd in a noisy stadium. Even if your message is brilliant, no one will react if they cannot hear you over the background noise. To get the crowd's attention, you need a powerful megaphone and perhaps some flashing lights. In the world of immunology, an adjuvant acts exactly like that megaphone. When we give a vaccine, the purified antigen is the message, but it is often too quiet and safe-looking to wake up the immune system. We mix the antigen with an adjuvant to create a loud, localized alarm that forces the immune system to pay attention. Now that we understand the purpose of an adjuvant, let us look at how it actually works inside the body. Formally, an adjuvant is a pharmacological agent that modifies and enhances the immune response. It is crucial to note a major difference here. Unlike a carrier protein for a hapten, an adjuvant is not chemically bound to the antigen. They are simply mixed together in the vaccine formulation. Adjuvants work through several clever mechanisms. They can create a depot effect, which slowly releases the antigen over time to prolong the immune system's exposure. They also intentionally induce local inflammation. This inflammation acts as a distress signal, recruiting immune cells to the site and stimulating pattern recognition receptors on antigen-presenting cells. This mechanism of creating a localized alarm is why adjuvants are the unsung heroes of modern public health. In the past, vaccines were made from whole, killed, or weakened pathogens. These naturally contained their own danger signals to wake up the immune system. Today, to make vaccines much safer and reduce side effects, we use highly purified pieces of the pathogen, like a single recombinant protein. However, these pure proteins are so harmless that the immune system often ignores them completely, which would lead to vaccine failure. Without adjuvants like aluminum salts, vaccines for diseases like hepatitis B, human papillomavirus, and tetanus would simply not work. Adjuvants allow us to use tiny, safe doses of antigen while still achieving lifelong protective immunity. To quantify exactly how much an adjuvant helps, immunologists calculate the adjuvant enhancement factor. This formula is a simple but powerful dimensionless ratio. The symbol E sub F represents the enhancement factor. The numerator, T sub Aj, stands for the antibody titer, which is the concentration of antibodies in the blood when the antigen is administered with the adjuvant. The denominator, T sub Ag, represents the baseline antibody titer produced when the exact same dose of antigen is given completely alone. In plain English, this equation tells us how many times stronger the immune response is because of the adjuvant. If the titer with the adjuvant increases while the baseline remains constant, the factor E sub F increases, proving the adjuvant is highly effective. Let us see this formula in action with a real-world pharmaceutical test. A company injects mice with 5 micrograms of purified viral protein alone, resulting in a baseline antibody titer of 150 units per milliliter. Another group receives the same protein mixed with a novel lipid adjuvant, and the titer skyrockets to 3,450 units per milliliter. We want to find the enhancement factor. We substitute the high titer of 3,450 into the numerator and the baseline titer of 150 into the denominator. Dividing these gives us exactly 23. Physically, this means adding the lipid adjuvant made the immune response 23 times stronger than using the purified protein alone, proving the formulation is highly successful. Now that we have calculated the effects of both haptens and adjuvants, let us look at this diagram to visually summarize their distinct mechanisms. On the left, in section A, we see the hapten carrier concept. Notice how the tiny blue hapten produces no response on its own. It must physically attach to the green carrier protein. Only then does it trigger the production of the large Y-shaped antibodies. On the right, in section B, we see the adjuvant concept. Here, the purified antigen and the yellow adjuvant are not physically attached. They are simply injected together. The top path shows the weak response of the antigen alone, while the bottom path shows how the adjuvant acts as a megaphone, creating a massive, enhanced immune response. We have covered a lot of ground today, so let us reinforce the most important takeaways. First, remember that a hapten is a tiny molecule that needs a physical, chemical ride on a large carrier protein just to be seen by the immune system. Second, an adjuvant is a separate chemical mixed with a vaccine to sound the alarm, ensuring the immune system reacts strongly to a safe, purified antigen. The key distinction is that haptens require covalent chemical binding, while adjuvants are simply mixed in. Together, mastering these two concepts allows scientists to design everything from life-saving allergy tests to the highly effective vaccines that protect global public health. You now have a solid foundational understanding of how we can artificially guide the adaptive immune response.